Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and this is another week in review. News, week in review, what I've played, all the usual stuff. Links and everything, timestamps and all that down below. Now, starting off the bat with the news stuff, and news is a bit weird this week. We have some big things, we have some strange things. Let's go ahead and jump on into it. Starting off with Kickstarter and blockchain. I could have covered this last week, but I didn't, because I forgot to note it down in my notes. But Kickstarter is apparently doing something with blockchain. They're going to be getting into that, which, and to be clear, by the way, blockchain is not cryptocurrency. Many people I see thinking that, oh, I have to pay for my Kickstarters in cryptocurrency. No. Blockchain is the technological foundation that cryptocurrency is built on, but the two are actually separate things entirely. That said, I'm more confused out of all the things. I mean, Gamefound, as we know, is a up-and-coming rival to Kickstarter, and I'm just confused why Kickstarter feels that getting into blockchain, that this is the thing to be doing right now, as opposed to all the features that they might want to do to actually be competitive to Gamefound in terms of bringing their, because they have the customer base, they have we've been around doing this for a long time, and yet Gamefound has managed to be competitive because of what it brings to the table, and Kickstarter could do stuff like that, or they could build on blockchain. So yeah, that's a thing that they're doing. Separately from that, speaking of which, we have a Gamefound update. Not a particularly interesting one, at least not for myself, but they put a bit of a press statement or whatever it is, an end of the year statement, as far as things they're working on, what they've been doing. Lots of lots of useful things that aren't necessarily cool to people like myself who are backing games, so much as potentially useful to creators. So all good stuff, just not necessarily interesting stuff for me personally. And then from there, in fairly expensive news, we have Asmodee acquiring Exploding Kittens. Asmodee acquires the whole Exploding Kittens brand, and then coincidentally, later we find out that Asmodee sells to Embracer for $2.75 billion. Now, if you recall correctly, Asmodee was trying to sell for, I think, $2 billion, or whatever it was. Like, they're trying to sell for $2 billion, or was it 2.5? I don't remember what it is. But then they acquire Exploding Kittens, and a week later, Embracer buys them, so I think the point is that people really, really want Exploding Kittens. But in all seriousness, Embracer, which is a video game company or video game background, they have a bunch of IPs under their belt, but they own a bunch of other game-related stuff. But I think on the video game side, they're buying. It looks, I don't know if it's finalized or not, but it seems like they are buying Asmodee for $2.75 billion. It's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. What does that mean for board games, the industry, any of that stuff? I have no idea. I don't know. I mean, this goes back to the whole general conversation about the doom of the future being foretold and all that, and how Asmodee, big corporate overlord, is ruining board games. They might, maybe, I don't know. I just haven't seen it happen yet. So far, we've still gotten board games. They temporarily tried a whole map restriction thing, minimum advertised price, to try to raise board games pricing to make it so that you couldn't buy as many, but that's good for you because then you'll buy the right ones instead. That was an actual thing that they tried doing and passing off that way. It didn't work out great. I'll admit I'm not a fan of their whole new replacement parts policy about how you just basically can't get replacement parts, but overall, I still seem to enjoy plenty of games, so I'm not that scared of things just yet. Then, on really expensive side, all this stuff is small potatoes, we have Meeple University putting out their holiday song, which I'm in, so yeah, I mean, yeah, that's basically, I'm in their holiday song singing. So if you want to check that out, you can go ahead and check that out. I'll have a link to that down below. And that's all the news stuff, although we still have the games side of the news. Starting off with the fact that Gloomhaven, and I had a video about this earlier this week, but Gloomhaven has a miniatures line coming. Gloomhaven, you know, that giant, that giant game that's the #1 game of all time, that has Frosthaven as a spiritual successor, and has Jaws of the Lion, that has who knows how many thousands and thousands of copies sold. Well, yeah, they have a miniatures line for all 3 of their games coming to Kickstarter. What more will there be? Not necessarily sure. Seems like there might be terrain, not clear what, but we don't have a lot of official information just yet. We just know that it will be happening in some way, shape, or form. We know more than that, but we don't have all the information just yet. Then we have Viscounts. Viscounts of the West Kingdom had their expansions announced, so expansions will be coming for that. Not a surprise to anyone who knows about the general Garphill Games line or the way they approach their games, but those are announced in case you're interested in that. We have Waste Knights. Waste Knights has an expansion coming, Beyond the Horizon. I imagine it's coming to Kickstarter. Don't know for sure, but that's going to be coming from, I want to say Galactus Games. I think that's the name of the company. I can't recall for sure. And then we have Everdell Digital, which is something I talked about like 2 or 3 weeks ago, but then the news link to Everdell Digital disappeared into the background. But Direwolf Games, Direwolf Publishing or Digital, whatever, they have Everdell Digital coming. So if you wanted to play Everdell on your computer, you can do that now, which is good because Everdell's a fantastic game, and the more people that have access to it, the better. And that's basically the games news side of thing. So a few little tidbits there, bunch of other stuff. There are a few other retail games, not a ton going on there. As far as topic of the week. Topic of the week, I don't really have a firm thing here. I actually had 2 topics of the week, and then I realized, well, let's start off with the fact that this is the 53rd week in review video. Okay, this is the 53rd video in the week in review series, meaning I've been doing this for a year now. Not the board game, not the YouTube thing, just the week in review has been going on for a year strong, which is fun because when I first started this, I didn't know if it would last or how it would last. When I first started, though, this is a funny one. When I first started this was supposed to be a 10-minute or under segment. That didn't happen. That clearly did not happen. To be fair to myself, back then it started off as just here are the videos I did this week. A little bit of commentary around it, done, plain, simple, not a lot of stuff going on. Then we added news, then we added what I played, then we added topic of the week. Just this thing has loaded, so it's no longer a 10-minute or less video, but this has been going on for a year now, so that's fun. And then secondly, in terms of topics of the week, this past week was my 2nd year anniversary on YouTube. I was actually at PAX and completely missed it, but my first video went up on December 11th, 2019. That was my first video. It was a little Hello World video as I walked around this basement with a little camera. Didn't have everything set up the way I do now. I completely changed my basement to make it more studio friendly, but it's the same basic basement, same basic walls, infrastructure, carpet, all that stuff. Lots of other things have changed. Overhead camera up here changed. The front camera I have here. A whole bunch of things have changed since I first did this. But it's been 2 years now. 2 years on YouTube. I don't have any grand things to note about it. Last year, when I did my year anniversary, what I did last year is I did a bunch of videos that were my favorite, I guess, memories or videos over the past year. Maybe I'll do something like that again. It's an interesting space, YouTube. It's an interesting being a content creator. I love it. I absolutely love it. Hopefully that comes across in my videos. But I love board games. I love talking about board games. And then I love being on this other side of board games. I mean, again, to me, it is still bananas. It's still absolutely insanely cool to me that I can get a prototype of a game that doesn't exist yet. I mean, that I'm working with companies that I admire. The fact that I can talk to, I don't know, insert a Mythic Games or Awakened Realms or Command or any of these companies, and not just the miniature heavy ones, but if I can sit there and play a game with Eric Lang, that I've done a video with Tom Vassell. I mean, you have to realize I've been in this hobby since 2011, 2012. It's a long time. And in those years, I've watched videos from any number of people, many of whom I've now been able to connect with and talk to. I've bought games and backed games from who knows how many companies. I mean, this past week at PAX Unplugged, I was sitting down with CGE talking to them, and it's still ridiculously cool to me. And don't get me wrong, by the way, at the end of the day, the people on all sides of things, for the most part, are just people. I get this cool, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm talking to you moment, but most of us all feel that way. Most designers, most publishers, most content creators, we're just people playing games, and we're just excited to be able to dive into the space from a different angle, and talk about things in a different way, and see aspects of the space that you don't get to see just if you're just playing games. But at the end of the day, we're just gamers. Most of us are, at least. It's just cool to me. I'm having fun doing videos. I'm having fun talking to you. I like the fact that if I have a bad day, I can sit down and unbox a game and just have a cup of coffee and talk to the camera, and it's zen-like to me. It's not, I mean, you're not there. You're not talking back to me. This isn't a live video. I need to do more live videos, by the way. I'm sorry. This past year has been so busy. Like, I mean, even just now, I was trying to schedule a game with a patron, and I had to, like, push it off, like, 4 times just because life happens. That's why live videos don't happen as much. I can get, like, 4 videos a day done. That's not a problem. But narrowing down a specific time slot and then holding to it, that is much harder for me. It's a wonder that a game night ever actually happens. But it does. It does happen. I play a lot of games. I film a lot of videos. I talk about a lot of games. I edit far more than I ever planned on. I mean, when I first got this camera up here, I didn't edit at all. If you watch my original reviews, they're front shot only, and whatever you get to see, and that is what it is. Tough noogies. And now I'm slicing back and forth between the top shot and the bottom shot for gameplays, for reviews. At some point, I do plan on adding a 3rd camera, and then editing even further. And then at some point, I plan on adding B-roll, just because I think that I always want to try to continue improving upon things. I'd like to be here in 10 years, doing more videos, talking about more games. I've had a lot of hobbies my entire life. I've juggled. I still can juggle. I've done magic. I've drawn. Like, I can draw people. Like, very well, by the way. I should get something sometime. I can draw well. Like faces. People's faces. I spent a long time practicing that. Learned it on a flight. I had a 12-hour flight once, so I sat down and read a book on how to draw people, and then just started drawing people. It took more than that. My first drawing was not good, but you gotta start somewhere. I've had a lot of hobbies. I've been to Magic the Gathering, Warhammer. All these things are things that I have engaged with and done in some way, shape, or form. But the one that stuck with me the longest, easily, is board games. Most of these hobbies for me are hobbies that stick around for a year or two. That's what they usually stick around for. Like, I usually have a hobby, I stick with it for a year or two, and then I start moving on to the next thing. Board games is easily the hobby that I've had the longest. Going on 10 years now. Nothing else has come remotely close. And I think a part of that to me, I think, is the variability, is the infinite shuffling of board games. When I played Warhammer, I played Warhammer. When I played Guild Wars, fantastic game by the way, I played Guild Wars. When I played Magic the Gathering, I played Magic the Gathering. When I played board games, I played all the board games. And I have constantly shuffling in board games and new and exciting things that are constantly present. It is a hobby that keeps on giving. I mean, people talk about the rotation. People are like, oh, you play too many different board games, you should focus on some. Maybe. But what I've been doing for the past 10 years in terms of the cycling of games, in terms of keeping the best ones, doubling down on the ones I love the most, and then constantly shuffling the rest of them around, it has worked for me. It has kept my interest in this hobby fresh and alive. And that's true of the videos as well. The fact that I can sit there and talk about something new every day, the fact that I can be excited about Radlands today, the fact that I can be excited about Mega Man tomorrow, and then play Trails, which is a follow-up sort of to Parks, the fact that I can dive into these games and talk about something new and try something new and see the newest thing on Kickstarter. It is a hobby that I love, and it's a hobby that never stops being new. And then meeting people and talking to people, going to conventions, which is a new part of the hobby for me. I just like the board game space. I think board games are the best hobby you can have to begin with. Arguably sports is on par with it. It depends what you value, because sports keeps you physically active, and physically active is important. But so is being mentally active, and I value both those things. A hobby that encourages social activity while giving you both the mental and the physical. Both those hobbies will have you covered. Sports and some form of physical activity, and then board games. That's what I think is incredible. Everything else is solid. I like video games. I like other stuff. I like insert whatever name, but like watching sports compared to playing board games, I think playing board games is an incredible hobby. I think it gives back. I think it brings people together. I think it develops some of the studies that people have done on board games and their association with a lack of cognitive decline. Granted, these studies are usually on things like chess and Go as opposed to the board games we have, just because more data on that. But I'm a huge fan of this hobby, and I like the fact that I've been able to be in this hobby from another side of things for the past 2 years. Again, YouTube for 2 years, the weekend reviews for a year. I hope to continue doing fun things. I hope to continue covering Kickstarter and Gamefound and whatever else pops up. The hobby will constantly change, but I don't think it's going anywhere. If anything, it's only getting bigger. And I love just being able to be a part of it. And I appreciate all of you for watching, for being here. I mean, some of you have been with me since the very first 500 subscribers. Which, by the way, if you have, kudos to you. I mean, going back to those first videos, I remember there were a handful of people who would comment on things, and they'd show up, and their names became familiar. And now that handful has grown, and some of you are still names I recognize from way back, from 1,000, from 5,000, from 10,000. Some of you have discovered this channel last week. Whoever you are, whenever you've discovered this channel, thanks for sticking around, and thanks for watching, because as much as I like talking about games, something I heard once, and I've said it in videos in the past, I don't say it often, but I have said it, is a blog is a conversation that no one asks to have with you. Which is semi-true. The concept, the premise is true. The point at which it differs is when a blog has readership, when a video has people watching it. Then that moves into the fact that it's a conversation people did ask to have with you. And so the fact that you watch, the fact that you're here, the fact that you subscribe, the fact that you keep showing up, that's the only reason I keep doing it. Because without people there, it would just be a conversation no one asked to have with me. And while it's not the worst thing I could do with my time, I don't need to go through the trouble of editing and filming it at the same time. I could just talk to the wall, just talk to we got Small Islands from Lucky Duck Games over here. I could just sit look at small islands and talk to small islands and save myself the rest of the time. Those thumbnails, they take time. The timestamps, they take time. Everything else takes time. So if you're not viewing it, I can just talk to the game and skip all that. So thank you. That's my topic of the week. Thank you. Which brings us to, speaking of things I love, what I've played this past week. Going into it, what do I have? I have an email from... Ooh, what's that? That's a fun email. Other things. Okay, anyways, let's go ahead and go into what I played this past week. Going through all plays. And I've had a busy week. Despite being at PAX, I have had a busy week. So, starting off with the fact that, I think I talked about this last week, but I got multiple plays of Marvel Zombies in last week. I am still enjoying, well, it's not still, I haven't played it since then. I got 2 plays of Marvel Zombies. From there, we have Chaos in the Old World. So, Chaos in the Old World, which is, what else do I have? What else do I have there? Okay, fine, got it. So, Chaos in the Old World, I've got a play of Chaos in the Old World in. We'll talk about that more, but it's a solid game. It's been around in my collection for quite some time. I have the Horned Rat expansion, all that stuff. We have Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle, which you can see over here. I've been diving into that one with Ricky. I played Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle back in the day. I played a few games and then moved on from it because for our game group, it wasn't one that we were particularly enjoying enough to keep diving into it. But I'm really enjoying going through it with my daughter. She likes the dueling version of the game. I do not. I find that it drags on too long. I like the core engine, but I just find it drags too long. And Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle is a much more rewarding experience with the two of us diving in together. So that's Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle. Then we have Sagani, got a play of Sagani from, I think, Eagle Griffin Games, if I'm not mistaken. That's another one from Uwe Rosenberg. I have Sagani and Nova Luna, both solid games. I prefer Nova Luna, my wife prefers Sagani, but solid game. I've gotten multiple plays of Codenames, 3 more plays of Codenames, which is great, because that helped knock it into my 25. I have a 25, I have a 5x25 challenge, which means I want to play 5 games 25 times, and Codenames got knocked into that with this, so I only have 1 more to go. I also only have 2 weeks left, so I may or may not make my challenge. We have The Adventures of Robin Hood. Continuing playing that with my daughter. We have, I think, 2 games left before we're done. Maybe 1 game left, 2 games left. I have to double check. But we've been diving through that one, going through the adventure, enjoying that one. I've gotten 2 plays of Doom Machine, a little fun little solo game. It's one that I appreciate what it's doing. I don't know if it's for me. It's a little bit too brutal, and the decision space I'm making doesn't feel as fun or rewarding as I like. I like it. It's a solid game, but I don't know if it's one of those games where I was like, ooh, I really like this, and then the more I played it, I was like, I'm okay with it. We have Radlands, which is delightful. I've been getting in multiple plays of Radlands, played a bunch of it last week, and diving into it again with my wife this week. We have Kids Chronicles Quest of the Moonstones from Lucky Duck. That's going to be a 6-game, I think it's 6 games total. You know, you have the tutorial, you have 4 stones you're finding, and then you have a final mission, so 6 games total. We have 1 mission left before we're done. Speaking of which, I have another Kids Chronicles Quest of the Moonstones. Those are missions 4 and 5 there. 6 will be played shortly, at which point I'll be reviewing it with my daughter. We have Yummy Yummy Monster Tummy, another game from Lucky Duck that I don't like quite as much, but the kids love it. We have more Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle. We have Rolling Realms. I'm continuing to dive into that one. I just finished the 18 solo games that they have, and I'll be diving into it more, I'm sure, but finally knocked out that, so the first 18 solo games are done. We have more Radlands. We have Hadrian's Wall. We have 2 plays of The Search for Planet X. That's one I played a while ago. I want to dive back into it. I hope to review it soon on the channel, so I want to cover it from more angles, from player counts, from solo mode, from the advanced mode. So I'll be diving more into The Search for Planet X as well. And I think that's what I have for this week. I'm pretty sure. Do I have anything else? I did Astronauts, but did I record Astronauts? I did not record Astronauts. I did not record my play of Astronauts. Okay, cool. We have a play of Astronauts. I know that because I played Astronauts. Anything else here I played? Yeah, this goes back to the fact that I always have plays that I don't log, because I forget to log them. In any case, that's what I have for what I played, which brings us into the week in review, and at the end of the video, we'll talk about the games on the table as well. Going into the week in review, starting off with this past Saturday. Saturday I reviewed City of Spies. Fantastic game, a really solid game, a 4.5 for me. I really like City of Spies. It's a game that I've had in my collection for quite some time. I also have the newer version, $24.91 Planet Ship. I need to dive into that one. I've had it for a while. I want to see if it improves upon City of Spies for me or not. There are some aspects of the rules I think do, City of Spies I already like a lot, but either way. But City of Spies is a fantastic game, definitely in my collection. I have all expansion content for it. I've had it for a while. It's not going anywhere. Then we have, later on Saturday, we had a review for Hadrian's Wall, another 4.5 for me. Solid game that I'm enjoying diving into it with Rena. It is a really, really good game. Hadrian's Wall is fantastic geez, what's the name of the company? The company that brought you Viscounts. It's called, oh my gosh, it's going to bother me. Viscounts comes to you from Viscounts and Architects comes to you from, I can't remember the name of the company. I said it earlier in this video. Either way, Shem Phillips, Garpil Games, Hadrian's Wall. So Hadrian's Wall is fantastic. It's my favorite roll and write at this point. It's just so nuanced. It's intricate. It's delightful. Solid game. Definitely staying in my collection. Rena keeps asking to play it. I mean, I like it. I like it a lot. But she keeps saying, okay, I'll play that new game you want me to play, but I want to play Hadrian's Wall after. And so we do. Then from there, we had on Sunday, we had Top 100 continuing with number 70 to 61. A lot of great games there. We had Istanbul, which is a game I actually got rid of way back in the day and then got it back. We have The Great Wall from Awakened Realms behind me over here that made its way into the top 100. We have Pandemic Legacy. Technically, I put Season 0 in there because that's the only one I currently own, but I haven't actually played Season 0. But I've played Season 1 and Season 2 twice now. So Pandemic Legacy as an entity, as a general entity, is in my top 100 over there. Then on Monday, we had Tobacco Noctibac, possibly the last one in a while. One of the games there, Borderlands, is one that I actually had a chance to play when I was at PAX Unplugged this past week. I'm not like, oh my gosh, this game is the best just yet, but I do like the game. The game, I had I don't know, 10-15 minute demo of the game. It's fun. It's got decision space. It's got rolling dice and weapons and leveling up and all those fun things. It falls in the category of a game that I need to play it a whole lot more to see where it lies. Like, is it a game I'm pulling out when faced with choosing between that and Zombicide? Those are questions I don't know yet. But as far as the game, I think I'm more likely to keep my pledge right now from having played the game, from being able to dive into it and be... It looked fun. When I first was covering the game, it looked like a fun game, but it's a difference between being able to actually sit down and roll dice and kill baddies. So it's definitely more fun, or confirmed that it's fun, if that's the right terminology. But again, still not sure where it lies long term, but I think I am more likely to keep my pledge, at least as of now. Then on Tuesday we had a review for Ancient Blood. That's a campaign over on Gamefound, The Order of the Vampire Hunters. This is the spiritual sequel because it's not really the same game, but it has a lot of the same mechanics. It seems to be a merging of Dark Rituals and The Order of the Vampire Hunters. Overall, it's one that I really enjoy, but very much first impressions. Still a lot of stuff going on in that video, in the experience I got, that falls heavily into the first impressions category, so I still haven't made up my mind on it just yet. What I saw was very positive, but I need more of a finished game. It was definitely in the prototype stage, at least for myself. Then from there, later on Tuesday, we had a review for Tiny Towns, another game I've had in my collection for a while. Tiny Towns from AEG, for me, that's one where I think the expansion is really cemented for me. Solid game. I give it a 3.5. It's a good game, one that I'm happy to dive into, but one that really, I primarily have it because of the accessibility for new players and large player groups. Overall, it's one that I enjoy, while not feeling like, oh my gosh, I have to play it. I'm always happy to play it, but I don't always pull it off the shelf. There's a lot of those games, so many games. It's hard to play all the games you want. Then later on Tuesday, we had a review for Cuphead. Cuphead from the OP. It's a little fast-rolling dice game, real-time dice game. I like it, but I didn't love the fact that the main gameplay sections are 10 to 15 seconds long of frantically rolling dice. It doesn't maintain that frenetic feeling of the video game. Sure. Is it as fun to play? I liked Cuphead, the dice game. I enjoyed it, and I'm happy I dove into it to at least experience multiple bosses. But it's not one that I'm sad to see leave. It's one that I'm happy I played, and I'm happy to move it on to the next person. From there, we have Wednesday. Wednesday was Top 100 continued with 60 through 51. This one we had Rum and Bones, and then we had Paleo. This is a fun fact, by the way. Little completely random, meaningless statement. But the final game, number 61, in my 70 through 60 that went up on Sunday, had Pandemic Legacy Season 0 as the last game. Okay, ready for this? Pandemic Legacy Season 0 was the last game. Completely unplanned, the last game, number 51, in my Wednesday video was Paleo. Okay, both those games are from Z-Man Games, which is meaningless on its own, but Paleo is Pandemic Legacy 0. Pandemic Legacy Season 0. Illuminati confirmed. Paleo, Pandemic Legacy Season 0, Illuminati confirmed. By the way, genuinely, complete coincidence. I only realized this after. I realized the Z-Man thing as I was filming them, but I only realized that Paleo could be extracted into Pandemic Legacy Season 0 if you try hard enough. So that's just a fun little quirky thing. From there on Thursday, I had a video why I won't be backing the next Gloomhaven Kickstarter, which is about those Gloomhaven miniatures. I'm happy that the Kickstarter exists. It just, for me, despite loving miniatures, despite going all in on things, that's an example of a game where I will not be getting everything because I think it'll hurt the accessibility. I think it'll make it so that I'm less likely to table the game if I have miniatures and tons of it, plus of course the cost, but the cost is not the main factor. The main factor to me is the lack of accessibility, and that means I will hopefully not be backing the next Gloomhaven Kickstarter. From there on Friday Friday we had What We Backed with Mina. This was a very hard one to choose. Also, by the way, I haven't actually filmed it yet, so on the off chance it doesn't go up Friday, then we'll talk about it later. But Friday I filmed What We Backed with Mina. There's a hard one to choose my top from, because in part of those videos, in terms of the What We Back, part of it's choosing the, if I could only back 3, which ones would I back, and if I could only back one of those, which ones would I back. It was hard to choose. There were a lot of Kickstarters in that video. There were like 25 crowdfunding campaigns, of which I backed way too many. A lot of them are also existing properties that I really like Too Many Bones or For Glory. A lot of them were existing properties that I couldn't say no to them. They're games I already love, and so of course I'm getting stuff. So picking only 3 was hard. It was brutal on that one. And then today we're going to have 2 things. Again, one of them I filmed, the other one I haven't, so hopefully they both go up. Today we have a review for Warpgate, and then a review for Radlands. Both of those going up today. You can check those out. And then next week I'll be continuing the top 100. Still going through it. I think we have 2 weeks left to go. It's going to be 4 weeks, total of 10 videos, but spread out across those 4 weeks. So we'll be continuing the top 100. And then additionally, I will be covering on Monday. We're not going to have a 2 back or not to back. I don't know when the next one of those will be. It might be 3-4 weeks from now, but we'll be having my longest 10 overdue Kickstarter. I don't know if it's going to be for sure 10, we'll figure it out, but it's going to be talking about my most overdue Kickstarter campaigns, the ones that have been taking way too long. It's not an attack on those companies, not at all, but it's a video topic someone suggested, and I thought it was a fun little video topic to dive into, just the state of the delays and how things stretch out and go on. But that will be my Monday video. Past that, the games on the table. Time to talk about the games on the table. I will be going to Toronto this week. My brother had a baby girl, so I'm going to be visiting them. That also means I'll be taking a lot of family-friendly, smaller boxes that pick up and travel well. That includes Trails, which is a smaller version of Parks, and good for traveling. We have Radlands, which, like I said already, really been enjoying this one. Spoiler to the review, so that will be showing up. We have The Key, which is from Haba. It's a little kind of escape room style game, but I can't wait to play this with my nephews and my daughter. I think that they'll really enjoy it. I think it's a little too much for my 2 sons. I think it's a little bit too nuanced in what it's trying to do. Then we have Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle, which I'd love to dive into. I'm sure my nephews and nieces will love that, along with playing together with myself and Ricky. We have Mega Man Adventures, which is a fun little cooperative game in the Marvel United style of gameplay. We have Astronauts, which I'm taking to play with Rena, as well as solo. This is going to be an upcoming Kickstarter, replacing Aeon's End. We'll talk more about it, but I like it enough to be taking it with me, having already played it. And then we have Lost Winds of Arnak, which I don't know if I'll be taking this to Toronto, but I really hope I play it, because this is the Expedition Leaders expansion. I would love to play that this week, because I just got it, and I really like Lost Winds of Arnak, so I want to play this, because I like that game. And that is basically everything. Those are the games on the table, the week in review, what I played, news, topics, all of that stuff. Until next time, I am Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. It's been 2 years now, and I look forward to the next 2, the next 5, the next 10. And like I said already, I really appreciate you being here. I really appreciate you watching, commenting, subscribing, all that stuff. It means the world, and it lets me really do what I love doing as a potential full-time thing sometimes. So it means a lot. Thank you very much. And as always, have a good one.